Hi everybody, Ryan here again with Berserk Custom Paint, and in this video I'm going to show you the steps that I am taking on this green zombie bike right here. This is actually a project that I am doing for a second time. The first time I did it was about 2 or 3 years ago, and since then he's wrecked the bike and I'm just redoing it and bringing it back a little bit modern since the first time I did it. First time I did it, I just had this fiery skull here, and I thought this time around that it'd be a good idea to put the customer's image as a zombie on the back of the bike. So I had him pose for a zombie picture, which he thought was not so fun, but I got him to do it. So I put his image on the back here, and just like you saw in the skull video, I cut his face out of the paper because I didn't want it to get out of shape. And this just goes to show, this is actually the first time that I'm using this technique again since you saw me use it in the skull video. That just goes to show you that you can't always use, and it's not always a good idea to do the same thing the same way twice. What do I mean by that? Every project requires its own way of doing it, and you really just got to think before you start the project, what is the best way to go about this particular project this time around. This time around, I thought it'd be a good idea to use his image cut out of the piece of paper this way. And actually, I cut his hand, his hand out separately than I did with his face. The reason for that is because I can place his face on the bike in a position that I like, which I tilted it crooked because that's a little more interesting of a pose. And then I used his hand to where I could put it wherever I felt like it belonged in the composition. In this case, I thought his hand worked best there. Taped it down, and now I've got a stencil. Once it was taped down, I got my Saral paper, and using my Saral paper, I traced the details of his face out and a little bit in his hand. I was sparing with my detail lines because I didn't want too many lines to be showing through because you got to work around them sometimes. Also, I used the white Saral paper because, like I said before, depending on what color your surface is, you want to use the color that's best hidden in that surface and that will show up. White I used on this black surface because it shows up, and I'm going to be sketching everything out in white, and so it'll hide those lines really well. This is very generic sketch. You don't have to add a whole lot of detail in this portion of it. You can go back in, and we're going to add a lot more detail later. Then we're going to switch to black. Once we do switch to black, we're going to fill in those details even deeper. Then we're going to move on to our Kandy concentrates and give it a green, fiery look, and move on from there. Okay, here's the candy concentrates that we're going to mix together. This is organic green candy concentrate, and like I said before, I hear they're the only ones that can sell them in these little portions, so if you want something like this, go to coastairbrush.com. They were nice enough to give me a little gift package so I could share it with you guys here, because you're always asking me what kind of paint do I use. I use, like I said, Standox on a normal occasions, but Standox doesn't sell something that is, you know, for you guys watching this. Most of you, in fact the majority of you, probably have a hard time coming across my paint, so you need something that you can get. Well, House of Color is just as good, if not better, because House of Color is the industry standard and focuses on airbrush work and custom work, and that's what their colors are good for. When you're working with a candy concentrate, you want to use an Intercoat Clear, which is the the SG100 Intercoat Clear from House of Color. Intercoat Clear is basically a clear base coat. I mean, that's really the best way to explain it. You pour your candy concentrate into the clear base coat, which is a dye in a sense. The candy concentrate is a dye. Think of it just like any other food coloring or something like that. It dyes the clear water, which makes a transparent paint. That transparent paint gives it that candy look, that real vibrant, fiery candy look. So, you know, this is something to get if you're wanting to get into custom paint, and something to play with. Just remember, when working with candy concentrates, the fact that they are a dye is they have a tendency to bleed out through. So if you're stacking colors, if you're putting, let's say, an orange with a yellow on top, or in this case I'm putting a green with a yellow on top, if you want wherever that yellow is, which is the lighter color, the top color, if you want it to be as bright as you can make it, then you want to try not to put the green as thick, or try not to put the green at all in the places that you are going to be hitting with that yellow, which is basically the high spots or the hot spots. So be sparing with your candy, because like I said, it does bleed. So let's go ahead and move on with this project. Alright, this first layer of green candy, I suggest we just try to hit the shadow areas first. That's because of the bleeding. Because the candy is a dye, it'll try to bleed up through the layers. So when I go to add my highlight layers, which is going to be yellow and white, this green will try to bleed through it. So I really want to only put green in places that I'm less likely to have as much yellow or highlights. So just go ahead and hit it just in the shadow area. When putting the candy down like this, I've turned the air pressure up just a little bit, and I've reduced my paint down. Or actually, I didn't. My paint isn't as reduced as I normally do when I'm just painting, and my air pressure is up. You want to be careful, because when I first started, I would have problems when shooting candy like this through an airbrush. When I'm just shooting in different spots, I would have problems with the overspray drying before it, you know, like you get foggy overspray on the edges. Like let's say I shot there and then the overspray around the edge there, you know, around the edges. That would cause it to be, I guess, like have a texture. So you want to make sure it's reduced far enough and your air pressure is high enough that it's not drying, you know, it's not drying the paint and giving it that texture. So if you are getting, you'll see it'll look sandy and grainy, and it'll look real bad at first. And if you're getting that problem, I suggest playing with your reduction and your air pressure until you can get that problem to go away. Now let me show you a handy thing about having this paint that I got from Coast Airbrush. You see, because it comes in these little bottles, this is the reducer. This is the candy concentrate, and normally they come in bigger bottles. Like the candy concentrate will come in a bottle like that. And if you're just doing small projects and you don't have like a big body shop and you don't do a big high production of stuff, this is a lot to buy, and you probably want something smaller. So to start off with, you can get these little bottles from Coast Airbrush, which is the same thing in that bottle, but it's just smaller portions. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and hit the highlights just a little bit harder with my white. Then I'm going to stack the yellow on top of that. So all your bright spots, your highlight spots, let's go ahead and add white back in there. Okay, now I'm switching to the lime gold candy, and I'm going to put the lime gold on there. And you see why we didn't put it all on there real heavy at first with the green? It's because the gold is showing through even the green. And then you can go back in with your green since it's a dominant color, and you can deepen your shadows that way. You can add black on top of it.